Marhaba, welcome, welcome. Now that we have covered the ta marbuta, we're going to continue on. We've got 4 letters that are in Unit 6. So if you've got your book, go ahead and open up to page 120. The 4 letters that we have are heavy letters that we're doing most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. Okay, and they're 2 pairs, meaning they're going to have the same shapes. Okay, so the very first one that we are going to do is the letter ta. So here's my line. Looks like this, almost looks like the letter B. Okay, and this is the letter ta. And I would put either a capital T or a dot. And the sound that it makes is the heavy T sound. It is not this. This is a ta. And remember when we talked about heavy and light letters, we talked about the difference between the a sound and the a sound. Okay? Ta and ta. Now the way that you're going to pronounce this is you're going to take, here's your mouth, you're going to take the tip of your tongue, okay, and you're going to put it against, there's a bony ridge right behind your teeth at the roof of your mouth. So if you take your tongue along the back of your teeth on the top, and then you hit a bony ridge, that part, that is that ridgy part in the roof of your mouth, is what you're pushing the front of your tongue, the tip of your tongue against. Ta. And it's almost like the letter Daad in that you have this portion, right? There's a whole portion, the front portion of your tongue that's pushing up. Ta. 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 And it's different than the letter Daad that we did because this one is a heavy D sound. Da. Da is more of pushing against the back of your teeth. Whereas the letter ta is pushing more against the roof of your mouth at that ridge. Okay? So, da and ta. 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 So your tongue is pushing up against the roof of your mouth to create that sound. Okay? So, daad is more behind your teeth and it's lower in your mouth. Ta is higher in your mouth, the roof of your mouth. Okay? And again, it is a heavy letter. It is considered a heavy letter. So what we want to do is then compare it. Because it's similar to the T sound, we're going to compare here with the letter ta. And then we're going to compare it with the letter fa. So here we have ta, fa. 2, front of your mouth, very light. Tu. Tu. Pushing against the ridge of the roof of your mouth and opening up, almost ballooning your mouth out to make a really deep sound. Tu. As opposed to tu. When you say the letter ta, here's your tongue. All you're doing is just the tip of your tongue is touching your teeth. Ta, tu, ti. It's very light, right? If these nails, these are your teeth, the ta is simply touching the back of your teeth. Ta, tu, ti. Very light. Whereas the ta is pushing up against that roof portion. Okay? So ta, ta. Tu, tu. Ti. This one's the hardest one. Tli. Because you're pushing against the roof of your mouth and you're pulling your jaw down low. Tli. Ta, tu, tli. Ta, tu, tli. Versus ta, tu, ti. This is a frontal sound, and this is a deep sound. Frontal meaning the sound is originating in the front of your mouth. Deep sound is using your whole mouth, the whole cavity. Okay? Ta, tu, tli. So one of the things that you want to do then is on page 121, you've got listening exercise 4. That's a good one to listen to. So let's actually do one of those. Let's look at number 1. Okay. Try pronouncing it. So the first one you have ta with an alif, so it's light. Tab. Tab. Like the English word tab. Okay. Tab has the ah sound. Tab. When it's a ta, it's going to make the alif sound heavier, because remember, the heavy letters tend to make the vowels around them also sound heavier. Bob, tab, bob, bob. Okay, tab, bob. So the sound difference for your light and heavy letters is always the same. It's always ah for the light and ah for the heavy. Ah, ah. Okay. Okay, so you can do listening exercise 4, and then you can also do drill 2 and drill 3 on page 121. Those are good practice to hear the difference between the ta and the la. In drill 2, you're listening to pairs of words and you're deciding which one is heavy between the two. And then in drill 3, you're listening to a word and deciding whether it has the letter ta in it, so whether it's heavy or it's not. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some words. So we're going to flip to page 122. In terms of the writing, this is such an easy letter to write because it looks the same in all 3 positions. Here is initial, here is medial, and here is final. That's it. It just connects initially, connects medially, connects finally. Very simple. Okay. So let's do a couple of words then. Okay. Tabib. Tabib. I'm going to write it, pause it, come back. Tabib. Ta with the fatha, because we're not saying ta, we're saying ta. Ta. Bi. Ba followed by a ya. Remember, ya connects immediately. Followed by ba. Tabib means doctor. And doctor is a human quality, so that means tabib could also be feminine. And if it's feminine, what will it be? Tabiba. So male and female doctor. Tabib. طيب. 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 What's happening on the letter ya? Good. So we are pausing on it and pronouncing it twice. And the second time we pronounce it, we say طي. Kasra. So you can either write the kasra here or you could write it underneath. It's up to you. I like to write it right underneath the shadda. And followed by ba. طيب. طيب. طيب is an adjective, and it means good. It can mean pure. When you're talking about like a good person, shakhs طيب, this is a really upright person. And when you're talking about it with respect to food, it can mean tasty. دجاج طيب, so really tasty food. So it can be used for people and it can be used for foods. Okay, let's do another one. Sat. Sa-ta-ra. Sat. Not sa, but sa. This one's a little bit hard because we got a light letter and a heavy letter. Sa, followed by a ta with a sukun and a ra. Sat. And you can write it like this as well. And this just means line. Which you would hear me say sometimes when we go in the Hamza. And I said, okay, Hamza, when it's at the end of the word, it's written on a sat. It's written on the line. Let's do another one. Batta. Batta. Ba, followed by a ta. And this is a feminine word, so it's going to have a ta marbuta. Batta. Meaning a duck. So in your book, it's written like this. Bat, which is fine. And if we say batta, we're talking specifically about one duck. Okay. Khat. Not khat, but khat. Ta. Khat. It's kha, followed by a ta, and it has a shadda at the end. So even though you're stopping, you're not pronouncing the shadda there. It's there, so if you were to say mine, make it mine, khatti, that ta would get pronounced twice. So khat, meaning handwriting. Okay. So these are letters that we have with the letter ta. So now, or words that we have. So now if you look at page 124, a really good reading exercise is drill 5. And in drill 5, you're comparing words that have the ta versus the ta. So I'm going to give you one example from there. Let's look at number 2. I want you to pause and you're going to try to read the word and then come back. Okay, so let's look here. The first one on the right side, ra. Ta is followed by ya, so it's ti, ratib, and stopping on the ba. Ratib. In this one, you have ra with fatha, and then you have a ta followed by ya, so ti, ratib, ratib, ratib. Okay, that's the difference between the two. Now that you have the letter ta, you can continue on with the consonant chart. The vowel chart that we did. Remember, you guys had this. Oops. Right? And you're doing the chart. So now you have the letter ta. You can do ta, alif, ta, tu, ti. So you should be doing that with all of your letters. Okay, so now let's continue on to the next letter. The next letter is ta''s partner in crime. So it looks exactly the same. The difference is, very good, a dot. So it's the same letter that we're going to write. We're doing that shape again, and then the line. And this is the letter va. 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 Now your book writes it as a DHAA. I like to write it as a TH with a dot on top. Okay. And the reason why is this. We have done several TH sounds. We've done this one, which is a light sound, tha. And then we've done this one, which is a fricative, the. Dal is like the word the. So I'm going to erase the tha here so we're not confused. The letter va is the heavy version of the letter dal. So the, va. The, va. That's with the fatha. So I'm going to put dal here. So now we're doing pairs of letters, heavy and light letters. Okay. So here we go. The, thu, the. This is light and frontal. It's in the front of your mouth. The, thu, the. Heavy and deep now. Va, vu, the. Va, vu, the. In all of these, the tongue must be touching the tip of the teeth, your front teeth, your top front teeth. Right up here. The, va. Notice the difference in the shape of my mouth. When I make the dal, the light sound, my lips extend out. The. But when I make the heavy sound, va, the mouth opens up. So that's a heavier sound. It's deeper. It's using the whole mouth. Okay, so let's compare. The, va. Thu, sorry. Thu, vu. Thu, vu. Okay? The, front of your mouth. The versus the. This one's heavier. So what's happening when you do, the ones with the kasra tend to be the hardest ones because they're heavy and you're pulling your jaw down low. The. The. You're pushing your tongue and it's touching the bottom of your front teeth. The. And you're pushing air into your mouth so that you should actually feel some air pushing outwards against your inner cheeks. The. 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 It's like a light puff. Okay, so you're using the whole portion of your mouth. So again, the, va. Thu, vu. The, okay? So this is a much, much heavier sound. Okay? So now what you can do is you can go ahead and do initial, medial, and final, which you should already know because it's the same as the letter ta. and the only difference is you've got a dot. Okay? And then again, same thing. Listening exercise 7 is a really great one because it compares words. So I'll look at, for instance, arba, number 4. Actually, let's look at one that we have letters that we've done. So let's look at listening exercise 7 on page 125. Rakam khamsa, we're going to look at number 5. No, we're not going to get number 5. We're going to look at number 3. I want to do letters you guys have done. Okay, you're going to go ahead and try to read this, pause and read this, and then come back. Okay, so in the first one, we have ha, the. The dal here, this is light. Hadar, ha-dha-r, hadar. In this one, this fatha on the va is going to sound heavy. So it's still ha, but now it's va. Hadar, hadar. So notice the word sounds heavier. Hadar versus hadar. Hadar, hadar. The, va. Those are the two sounds that you're trying to hear. This is very different than, I'm going to put this here, it's very different because anyone who speaks a dialect, you might get confused. This is a different word altogether. The letter Daad is a D sound. The letter Va and Dal are letters that are TH sounds, where your tongue is touching your teeth. The letter Daad, your tongue is touching behind your teeth. It is not coming out. So when I say ba, you shouldn't see my teeth. It doesn't stick out. It's behind my teeth. My tongue is behind my teeth. Ba. So here we go. Ba, va. Notice how the tongue sticks out. Va and da. So the tongue is behind the teeth for the letter Daad, and the tongue is sticking out for the letter va. So here, this word is going to be hadar. 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 So I'm going to do all of them. Hadar, hadar, hadar. 1, 2, and 3. Hadar, 2. Hadar, va. 3. Hadar, da, da. The, va, and da. 3 different sounds. So really practice it. I know it can feel kind of confusing. You also want to practice with drill 7 and yes, drill 7 and also listening exercise 8 is a good one to compare and contrast the sounds between, let me write them out here because you will see this coming up. Compare and contrast the sounds between the, I'll put a fatha on all of them for ease. The, va, and da. So notice what I wrote. The, first one. The, va, D sound, da. So all the first 3, your tongue should be touching the tip of your teeth. The last one, the tongue is touching behind the teeth. Okay. This one has no friction. These 2 have friction. Tha, your air is barely moving between. Dal here, the second one and the third one, dal and va, they're both fricative, meaning your tongue is pushing against your teeth. Daad is none of those because the tongue is behind the front of the teeth. Okay. Other comparisons, the first 2 are considered light letters, the second 2 are considered heavy letters. Okay. So those are just a little bit of a comparison between those. Okay. And they will show up. So you will have to be able to differentiate between these 4. Okay. So if I said ظالم, you guys go ahead, decide which one is it going to be. ظالم, va. Right here, va. But if I said يضرب, Yad, yadrib. It's a D sound. There's no V sound. So that's a Daad. If I say timthal, timthal, th. That's going to be right here. Th, timthal. If I was to say يتذكر, يتذكر, not ظ, ذا. That's going to be a dal. Okay? So really understanding the difference between these four letters is going to be very important. So let's practice some vocab words with the letter ظ. Initial, medial, and final, which is very simple. Okay. When you write it medially, sometimes what will happen is you end up writing the va or the tha, that shape a little bit above the line. That can be okay. It's just your penmanship. Okay. Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, which is the name of the Arab Emirate. Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, the Arab Emirates. Abu Dhabi. Let's do another one. Budha. 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 It's a feminine word. So what does it end in if it's a feminine word? Very good. Budha. And this is ice cream. Budha. So how would I say I love ice cream? أحب البوظة. بوظة. Let's do another one. حظ. 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 It's just a ha and a va. Not ha, but ha. حظ. And it's actually with a shadda here. And it's another word that we did. We did a word way back when. Bakht. What did that word mean? Luck. So they're both ways of saying luck. Okay. So now that we've done this, you can also do drill 9, which is a good reading drill, and also drill 12. 9 and 12 are on page 128 and 129, and those are very good for reading. So what you can do is you can listen, you can read it, at least for drill 9, you read it, and then listen to the video to see whether or not you pronounced it correctly. And then drill 12 is pairs where you have the singular and the plural. So there are pairs of nouns that are singular and plural. And so just read through that and see if you can recognize any patterns. Okay. We're going to move on and do the last two letters.